Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Today is the 20th of Rabi'ul Awal, 1442, 6th of November, 2020. I am blessed again to live until this day. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. So, thank you, YouTube. Thank you, all my channel subscribers and viewers so far. I appreciate your attention. I'm grateful to be here with you and for you. Okay, this video we are going, as I promised, we are going to look into one environmental aspect, which is commonly managed in all management system, including environmental management system, especially those who are subscribing to the ISO 14001 version 2015. Well, you will inevitably bump into this particular aspect, which is diesel fuel. Okay, and I am going to literally decode why diesel fuel is an environmental aspect, rationalizing that by virtue of looking at its life cycle perspective. So here we go. First of all, let's take a look at, again, recap, a revision, a reminder for all of us, the definition of environmental management system. Remember, environmental management system is any management system that manages environmental aspects. This is the requisite of environmental management system. It must manage environmental aspects. How does it manage? By, look, the word again, fulfilling compliance obligation, and by addressing risk and opportunities associated to each environmental aspect by virtue of managing, controlling all its origin, processes, and activities involving environmental aspects. That is environmental management system. So fulfill compliance means it's not just the law. As I said earlier, all types of obligation, compliance obligations with the landowner. You have got terms and conditions of rental or purchases with, and of course, the environmental law from and by each respective government. In this country is the DOE, okay? Department of Environment has got lots of environmental law under the Environmental Quality Act, and they've got all types of approvals, permits, licenses, EIA approvals, terms and conditions. All of these terms and conditions are actually audit standards for certification body auditors and also internal auditors, plus other sorts of obligations via contract, purchase order with vendors, contractors, transport providers, especially clients and all other interested parties to us, municipals, and all other agencies. So these obligations, when it is related to or influencing activities that involves the generation or the use of environmental aspects in our processes and activities, has got to be managed. And also by looking at risk and opportunities, as I've discussed earlier. Now, what are environmental aspects? This is the definition again of environmental aspects. Remember, the word is anything that interacts. It's a noun, it's not an activity, it's not a process, it is a thing, a substance, a matter. Physical matter. It could be gas, it could be solid, it could be liquid. It could be a product, it could be raw materials. Any matter that interacts or can interact with the environment, they are environmental aspects. So we are managing these environmental aspects by fulfilling compliance obligation, and also to look at and address risks and opportunities that may arise or potentially arise from activities and processes involving these environmental aspects. That is environmental management system. We've got to develop objective targets. Now it's called planning actions to achieve, and our intended outcome must be clear, so that when we manage these environmental aspects, we have got a benchmark, we have got a target, what to arrive to, what is the desired intended outcome. Okay, let's take a look at the life cycle perspective of our friend, the fossil fuel origin, the diesel. We have been feeding on all this fossil fuel, literally. For me, as early as when I was born in this world. So, diesel, okay? And this is our concern, the diesel, okay? And this is our environmental aspect that we are interested to look at. And this is the environmental aspects definition rationalization that I am about to display or explain before you. Now, when we talk about diesel, we are talking about resources. And I have got to correct a bit of this direction of impact. The upstream of this diesel, in terms of its life cycle perspective, is actually this way, downwards. This is upstream, okay? Please check with that. The one I have normally disclosed is the other way around. So this is upstream, okay? And diesel originate from what? The oil refinery, the fluid catalytic cracker, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? And it generates all sorts of other petroleum products like tar, kerosene, petroleum gas, naphtha, etc. You know it. Now, in producing diesel, with respect to all these cracker activities, the oil refinery itself generate numerous amounts of environmental aspects that interact with the environment. For instance, it discharges air emission. It could be from the flare stack, okay? And this would definitely cause what is termed as air pollution, because it enters the atmosphere, the unburnt hydrocarbon, or it could be flared out through the flare stack, perhaps unwanted petroleum or hydrocarbon gases has got to flare out and interact with the environment, causing air pollution, and also it might contribute to global warming. All right, and the oil refinery as well has got industrial effluent treatment, all right, from all types of activities that generates wastewater, and this go into what is called wastewater treatment plant. This effluent is an environmental aspect interacting with another environmental aspect, which is the wastewater treatment plant. The plant itself is an environmental aspect. And the process is treatment. The process is not environmental aspect. Okay, the treatment plant is, and that generate treated wastewater in the form of effluent released into the water stream, perhaps monsoon rain, perhaps any part of inland water, or perhaps into the marine area, and thus causes water pollution. So these aspects interacted with the environment. Wastewater treatment plant interacted with the environment, causing effluent, interacting with the environment, the environmental media itself, which is water bodies and causes water pollution. And sludge is being generated as well from the wastewater treatment plant, causing soil contamination. This is upstream, remember? So, and that is oil refinery, and we have got hazardous waste. Okay, and also from the oil refinery, well, in this country we call it scheduled waste. All right, and where does the oil refinery gets its raw material? It is the crude oil. Where does it come from? The oil rig. Okay, and even the oil rig has got all these environmental aspects already interacting with the environment. Okay, and including hazardous waste, and even TENOM is here, technologically enhanced, naturally occurring radioactive material. Secure landfill leaches. The leach might enter the environment, the soil, and causing soil contamination. And the oil rig got its oily mud from fossil bedrock. This is where our fossil fuel is, the resource reservoir is, and thus those drilling also causes some form of geological damage to the earth structure, and the resources is getting less and less, thereby causing resource depletion. These are the upstream environmental impact from the aspect called diesel. Another allocation, this is one allocation, we have drawn a boundary. If we look at the left boundary here, we have got drilling chemicals coming in to the oil rig, barium sulfite, and it comes from chemical factory. It is getting it from minerals, which is, these are all environmental aspects. Okay, and look, mining is an activity. It is not an environmental aspect. Chemical factory is an environmental aspect. Chemical production is an activity. It's not environmental aspect. So mining here, look, what have we got? Mining tails. These are where TENOM can be found, and you've got effluent from mining, air pollution from mining. All these air emission are environmental aspects, effluent, TENOM, mining tails. These are all environmental aspects causing an impact to the environment, which is resource depletion, geological damage, air pollution, soil contamination. These are all the upstream environmental impact associated to diesel. Okay, so if diesel is an input aspect, therefore the associated probable environmental impact will be looked upstream. Therefore it could be resource depletion, geological damage, soil contamination, water pollution, etc. These are upstream of the life cycle perspective of diesel, which is commonly picked, which is commonly what they call popularly consultants and people would pick resource depletion. That is the main the main impetus of environmental degradation. One of it is resource depletion. So that would be the upstream life cycle perspective of diesel. And downstream, you have got the use of diesel in power generation plant. What do we get here? Look, the power generation plant that uses diesel has got what? Boiler. They've got a burner to burn boiler, okay, and to boil water in the boiler to produce steam, and steam is produced to turn turbines, and this combustion of the boiler furnace causes the emission of another environmental aspects, which is air pollution. As air emission, it could be carbon dioxide, it could be sulfur oxides, it could be nitrogen oxides, and unburnt hydrocarbon perhaps, or soot, or fumes, or smoke, or any form of volatile organic carbon causing air pollution. So the downstream now of diesel is air pollution, the impact. Okay. Also, this is the thermal generation plant causing thermal outfall, might change the coastal lines marine water temperature, affecting some zooplankton colonies or communities, and some might die if the temperature exceed 40 Celsius, and you can have less planktons and thus less juvenile fishes, less fish population. This all food chain. That's the impact of thermal outfall to the marine water, especially coastal lines. We have hazardous waste as well. All right, and downstream of diesel is the production of electrical energy, which is used as power. And with that power, work is done. Heat is generated. Well, energy cannot be destroyed. Therefore, might be causing some form of thermal induction over here. Okay, and the electrical energy is the product of power generation plant, and thereby that would be the downstream of diesel. But most popularly, the combustion of diesel in power generation plant is causing air pollution, and that power generation plant create or generate electrical energy, which is being used by electrical machines, equipments, and appliances, and that cause other downstream environmental impact. I hope this suffices the life cycle perspective of diesel. So if you have any questions, please write or ask in the comment column below. So remember the word. What is the word? Interact and can interact with the environment. That is environmental aspects. Okay, so just to give some idea of what transpire in our bedrock where we drill crude oil, and this is a graphic which I was doing a summary of our project for life cycle assessment, and the objective of this project is to determine how much metric ton of bedrock structure has got to be drilled in order to produce 1 kilowatt hour of electrical energy. This was when most of the power generation plant in this country was using diesel. We want to find out how much of this bedrock structure has got to be excavated in order for us to enjoy the use of 1 kilowatt hour electrical energy. Nonetheless, I must admit that this is a little bit of an exaggeration of what is called horizontal drilling. It is really truly a drill, not really in that way, but where the line is not straight, even I try to do it, it is actually in that manner. That would be more of the horizontal drilling that has been going on, but not the way that I drew it. It's a bit of exaggeration. No, it doesn't happen that way. But the point is, we uses diesel for power, electrical power specifically, mostly for townships, for urbanization, and when oil prices is well fluctuating, and there are people who has got the power to regulate the oil prices. Of course, it is still back to the basic economics of demand and supply. When there is more demand than supply, the prices will shoot up. But for our concern is the fact that diesel is an environmental aspect, and it is of our common interest in environmental management system that we are responsible in managing as a consumer of diesel, managing the consumption. So probably some risk is the fact that the price of diesel fluctuates, and the opportunity that we have, I think there's a greater deal apart from looking for alternative fuel that will be quite a bridge too far. It is the technology is around, but it's a bridge too far for some nations. We won't be discussing that though. But in environmental management, we have got to look for measures that we could use diesel efficiently by probably selecting equipments that uses diesel with a good consumption rate, fuel efficiency, combustion engine, diesel combustion engine in this respect. And we have got to look into alternative methodology or mechanism that we can reduce or probably eliminate the use of diesel in some of our work. And this is called environmental management. We are managing diesel by fulfilling a compliance obligation. Yeah, I think it's quite clear now. And we got to address associated potential risk and opportunity that may arise from the use of diesel and the activities that uses it. This is environmental management system, so we have got to have a very clear intended outcome that we want to really arrive to. Therefore, we have got to construct, we've got to promulgate what are the measures that we have and we know we can achieve in order to arrive at that intended outcome. Practicality is, I would say, the paradigm of this new 2015 version of ISO 14001, and I like it so much. So, well, this is just it's not a real seismograph. I was not able to make a copy because it's a trade secret for this company. So I just redraw. The actual seismograph is a little bit difficult for me to interpret. Only the expert eyes of a seismographer would be able to interpret. So he gave me some kind of this sketch, so I redraw it for our purpose. Okay, so the interaction upstream of the environmental aspect called diesel. I hope this suffice. This is based on my lecture on life cycle assessment via ISO 14044 version 208. Now there's, I believe, new versions, but this is just one of the slides that I have been using. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, YouTube. And I hope this have benefited somebody. So until we meet in the next video, I wish everybody in Bahasa Melayu semoga dikurniakan kesenangan, keselamatan, kesejahteraan, kebahagiaan, dan kejayaan kehidupan di dunia dan di akhirat. And I wish everybody, wherever you are, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.